Good morning. First, I'd like to thank Reverend Russell and Reverend Temple for this opportunity, because it's kind of like the next step in the transformation that I'm going to share with you this morning. The impact that First Unity has had on my life has been both very powerful and very quick. My wonderful pewmate, Nayla Parker, who sat with me through this whole thing. And by the way, if you want to meet someone who is an angel barely disguised as a human being, Nayla, you I love.
Neela, I love you too. I love you more.
The guy's a ham. So, but she shared with me not too long ago that she had seen me move from deep darkness to light in just a few months. And the unity principles that made that transformation happen are what I want to share with you this morning, because without you, this could never have taken place. I believe that we are spiritual entities who take form in the human body to experience and learn and love. And one of the characteristics of that human experience seems to me that we judge what's going on or how our life is going by the circumstances that surround us. So what I want to do very quickly this morning is, in order to put the transformation in perspective, I want to share with you a little bit about my circumstances before and after, so to speak. In May of 2011, and the 4 months prior to that, I was living in a house that had no running water. Occasionally, it had no electricity because I could not pay the bill. The local Publix grocery store were my facilities, and I showered at the gym whenever I could manage to pay the dues. I had a piece of peanut butter bread for breakfast, cheese and crackers for dinner. I had a rash on my feet that made it virtually impossible to wear shoes, and I weighed about 218 pounds. But the only circumstance that counted, the only one that really made a difference, is that I could see no way out. I felt completely and totally trapped. Now, in June of 2011, I moved into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condominium on the water. I wake up every morning to hear the surf. I'm basically retired with 4 sources of income, which allow me to live pretty much in the lifestyle that I want. I have a part-time job that I absolutely love, and I'm a great contribution to both the employees that I work with and the business itself. My health is perfect. The rash went away with no medical assistance whatsoever, and I now weigh about 185 pounds, about 30 pounds, 40 pounds less. Thank you. But here is the only circumstance that counts, the only one that makes any difference. Now, everywhere I look, I see possibilities. And this transformation took place. I remember the exact moment that it happened, and I was sitting right there in the second row where Reverend Diane and Chris are sitting. It's a very sacred space for me. And I was sitting there, and Reverend Temple was doing a teaching, and part of that teaching was a story. And it was a story about a young boy and his father who were on a walk in nature. And they were walking along and came up to a rock. And the young boy asked his father, he said, "Father, do you think I can move that rock?" And the father said, "Son, if you use all the power that's available to you, you can move that rock." So the young boy got all excited, and he ran up to the rock, and he started pushing and shoving and lifting and put his back against it and was working very, very hard. And for several minutes he struggled, and the rock would not move. And he went back to his father, frustrated and a little bit angry, and said, "Father, you said I could move this rock, but I cannot." And the father said, "Son, He's filled with love for his son. And he says, son, I said that if you use all the power that's available to you, you could move that rock. And the power that you did not use that's available to you is the power to ask me for help. There is an entity, a power much larger than us, and we have access to it. That statement was like a 2x4. A 2x4 across my forehead. I realized that I had not been praying for help. I had been praying for my circumstances to change. I was not praying for eyes to see things correctly, to see things as they were perfectly. I was praying to make things different. In her CD, From Good to Amazing, Temple compares God to a Xerox machine. Whatever you put on the glass and close the lid is going to come back to you in exactly the same way. And what I was doing each morning is getting up, walking to the Xerox machine, putting my head on the glass, closing the door, and going, my life sucks. May I have a gazillion copies, please? And I was getting them. The instant, and I truly mean the instant that I changed to praying for help, for the prosperity and the peace and the joy that I wanted, and focused on those and asked for the help, almost instantly things started to happen in my life. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all will be given. As more and more things started to come into my life, and I started looking and focusing on the things that were coming into my life as opportunities for help, as opposed to focusing on the problems, I began to realize that I was simply a conduit, and that what I was asking for and praying for help was actually being done outside and through me, because all work is done through the hands of the Father. I am now at a point in my life and moving in the right direction where I'm being more and more comfortable by just focusing on what I want, praying for help, and stepping back and expecting it to come into my life. Because I now know that what I pray for and believe will come to pass. Thank you, God. What I'd like to say in closing, and thank you very much, thank you, God. What I'd like to say in closing is that some of you have had the opportunity to meet, and many of you I have never spoken to. But all of you, no matter who you are, whether I've spoken to you or not, have made a difference in my life. And I cannot put into words the appreciation I have for this community. But I want you to know that that is not enough. My appreciation for you is not enough. I would ask that each one of you do me a favor today. Sometime before you go to bed tonight, step in front of a mirror. Look in that mirror and say, I made a difference in the life of Steve Harding. Own that power. Embrace it and love yourself for it, because it is true. Namaste.